This is Joe Peters with MomFit with Joe Peters. Welcome to the welcome to the world, the Spanglish World Network and the Herd Network on Single TV channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download the Single TV app in all the app stores, iOS and Android. The app is free. Single TV can also be found on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV, Roku Stick in all the smart TVs since 2016. Now, if you are not following me yet, please make sure to go to Instagram and Facebook and go and follow Joe Unicorn Coach. I handle all my social media. So if you are having a question, a topic, a challenge around motherhood, please go to my social media, send me a DM, and if I don't have the answer, I will find an expert like Carrie to help us in the show because the mission and the vision of MomFit is helping you to win the marathon of motherhood without burnout. So, before we start, I want to tell you that I am super excited to have Carrie here. Carrie a dedicated is dedicated to defense and violence prevention. She's an expert on violence and defense and violence prevention. She's the owner of Beating Disaster. That is a Detroit-based especially school offering training and coaching on prevention, protection, and defense specifically for moms. Unfortunate life experience led her to her passion of teaching karate to evolve into studying balance prevention, psychology, communication, and even bodyguard training to better prepare and empower women and moms and children to avoid the often overlooked and underreported causes of trauma and harm. After teaching self defense for over a decade, her efforts transitioned to include ensuring moms have access to what they need to confidentially raise their children to be prepared for today's world and keep their kids safe from harm in the hands of others. Though she still teach karate, most of the time she is spent on further learning as well as empowering mothers through hands-on training, online coaching, and speaking on prevention, defense, and specific concerns. This is a topic that is very important because for all the moms that are watching, especially if you are mom to be or early on, the reality is you want to put your head under the sand and don't think about those things because one of the most painful things that we can have as a mom is the idea that our kid is going to get hurt. And mom, I, as an engineer background, I am all about being preventive and predicted instead of reactive. I say the same with birth, I say the same with everything else. It's much better that you learn from experts like Carrie now as a preventive tool where your nervous system is low, where you are not in the fight or flight response, where you are not scared about your life or the life of your child, that waiting until what if doesn't happen, what if happened, and then you have to reach out to Carrie in the middle of a disaster. So, Carrie, thank you so much for coming, for being here with us. I'm getting over the flu, so I have my cough drop, and I'm going to mute myself when you are talking, so it's not annoying. But we are going to be talking about keeping our kids safe and raise how important is making sure that kids are raised to be prepared. There's so many things. I'm going to be talking about a story that happened last week for me that I want your opinion as the expert. It's going to start with this. I always ask my guests for a phrase, and your phrase was beautiful. It says, "Help is only helpful when it's wanted." So why we don't start a little bit with who is Carrie, how you went through this beautiful and unfortunately taboo topic, and then you decide to be one of those pioneers to bring light to this topic and help moms to thrive preventively and also unfortunately if the situation come across to have the tools to know how to handle it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. It's a privilege and a pleasure, and I love what I do. And it's just really exciting because of the fact, like that said, I've had some life experience, And it's not the kind, it's like, it's not appropriate to smile about it, but I can smile about it because it led to where I am today. And it led to me learning the things that I learned. I was victimized as a black belt, which just doesn't make any sense because you take karate to prevent things from happening. And I learned how to fight, and I learned how to fight in self defense. But there was just a lot that was missing from that, and it's just what it is. I learned to defend myself from a lot of men, and they taught me what they knew, and it's valuable and it's fantastic. But women and children have different concerns. We have different concerns, and I wasn't prepared for the concerns that I faced as a child, or the concerns that I faced as a woman. That just, you know, a kick to the groin is fantastic, and gouging in the eyes works every single time you're willing to do it. But when is that appropriate? There's very few circumstances where that's appropriate, and there's a tremendous amount of harm that can come in those other scenarios. Like I said, the unreported harms, the things that, people whisper about or they don't talk about at all. We don't talk about our pastor. We don't talk about the stuff that happened at the hands of our chiropractor or somebody respected in society, or our own family. Harm can come from the hands of our own family. Our own family. Some people are like, what? And other people are like, yeah, and a kick to the groin is just not appropriate. It's just not appropriate on Uncle Joe or my best friend's husband, or, so that's where the softer skills are not only necessary, but just mandatory. They're not negotiable. And the excitement is that I've learned over the years in teaching children and teaching women that I can only teach so many children at a time. But if I teach mom is motivated and excited to teach her kids, and then she can learn these skills right alongside her children because no one taught her. It is few and far between. I don't think I've ever met anybody that we go down the list of like what's necessary to prevent harm, and they're like, oh, yep, I have all of them. I do them all the time. Yep, gold. Got it. I've never met anybody that said that.
And one of the beautiful things that I said, and I want you to talk about this, because there is a lot of taboo, right, about how, and this is very close to my heart for also many things that I've been around, but normally the perpetrator, the abuser, the harmful person is also tending to be, for any reason, unstable emotionally and mentally. So they are very good at bringing shame, guilt with what is happening. So there is a lot of subconscious part of, I deserve this, I was not good enough. So let's gonna talk a little bit about that, about what is that boundary and how moms can, for themselves and for their children, start noticing when something is not right.
Mm-hmm.
And then because I love one of the top points that you talk about in your talks, and that is raising a children in the middle of terror is not safe living, is not getting them into the skills that they need. So it's going to start for the most basic one, like what are those types of harm that could happen, and then how moms can start training their senses, their eyes, their ears, their gut, to actually be tuned to say, 'cause one of the, I don't know if you agree with me, but I would prefer to be the overreacting mom and find out that actually was not true, and that okay, and have to say I'm sorry, even if I lost a relationship, that underestimated and underreact, and then many years later find out that it actually was something that my
Yeah.
child had to bear for years and years and years.
There's a lot there. We could have 4 separate conversations for an hour apiece on all of that. But I do want to say a couple things. One, Just because you're a mom, you are equipped and you are qualified and you have everything that you need to identify what is safe and unsafe. You're a mama bear. That's the fun thing about teaching women and especially moms, because we just have intuition that is not as common among men. We are more qualified when it comes to prevention and prediction. Just because we have kids. Just because we have kids and we can do insane things in order to keep our kids safe that men just they just can't do. Men fight smart, men fight hard, but we just have like that mama bear that just unleashes. So you are qualified. Number 1, I don't help anybody in that sense. I just help you let it out. I just help you find it and listen to it and nurture it and trust it and respect it. So, to be very clear, every mom has it within to know. Another thing is the solutions are always very simple, which is mind-boggling because it's like, yeah, but this is so it's so dirty, it's so messy, it's so wrong. Like how can it be so simple? It is. The solutions are so simple, but it doesn't mean they're easy because we have so many things that prevent us from speaking up or saying something. And like you said, you're of the type of mom that's willing. You're willing. So with someone like that, I get to help you give the tools so that you can have the relationship and the communication, so you can be safe and have like the verbiage and be able to address a situation without overreacting, but still responding. Does that make sense? Because we shouldn't have to choose between our safety and our job. We shouldn't have to choose between our safety and our church. We shouldn't have to choose between our safety and our family or our relationships. It is possible to have it all. It is possible to be safe around unsafe people. Even though we know someone is unsafe, we can still be safe around them. I don't recommend, like, don't be alone with them, but we can be safe even if we know a person is unsafe. Um, One of the things that you mentioned, I was really excited because, again, that simple solution, something simple that moms can do to help their children be, they call it like a hardened target or difficult to victimize. We call it prepared. But how do you react when your kid spills a glass of milk? I don't know about you, but with my first kid, I flew off the handle. It's like, I don't have time for this. How could you add more to my day? It's like, oh my gosh. So, my first daughter, we had to work on that because when she made a mistake, it was like, what's mom going to do? I made a mistake. Is mom going to blow up? You know? And that having that around mistakes is what allows a perpetrator to exploit it. That's it. And it's so it really simple. It's really simple. The solution, a huge solution that would thwart so many different types of harms, and is just simply being a safe person for your child to make mistakes and discuss mistakes with.
And I think that I love that, because the thing is not only, we are going to go into so many topics. I think I'm all over the place. But there is emotional harm, it is physical harm, and there is sexual harm. And I love how you say, because I didn't thought about it, and you are absolutely right, is how we react to the day by day activities, because kids are kids. They don't understand that this problem is just milk, and this problem with this person is touching me in the wrong way or is hitting me in the wrong way is different. They just say, oh, if she react like that here, she's going to react like that here. So I love that. And it's hard, moms. Like, if you are pregnant, it's going to be hard. You are tired,
Yeah.
you are exhausted, you are sleep deprived, you are overtouched. And like Carrie said, sometimes we are like, oh my God, I don't have time for this crap. But it's part of us, it's our job. Like I always tell moms, we are the adult, not our children. So the
Yeah.
reality is, and I know that sounds a little harsh, but it is what it is Suck it up. You are the adult, not your children. So in those moments, in the moment that you need to go to a closet, breathe, and then see the big picture. How is this going to be a lesson for my kid into if he can trust me, how I react when things don't go like I expect, and having that trust. But the other one that I want to talk with you about this that I was thinking before we go to the next one is the proper use of all body parts. That sometimes drive me crazy when I see moms of kids of 8, 9, 10 year olds using weird names for body parts, that also I think that make the kid, like, I love how you say predators and abusers are good at detecting who is. There is a fascinating book of a lady that was a rape survival, and what she was saying is that the statistics of women that get raped once to get raped twice
Mm-hmm.
and three times are a lot higher, because
Mm-hmm.
the way that they interact, the way that they move, the way that they do things because of that trauma, when it's not treated, becomes an easy prey for the next predator. So who is going to be more likely, and we are going to be talking a little bit about sexual abuse with all the boom of kids, children of God are not for sale, but who is going to be more likely to take a thought of going forward on some kind of sexual intention with a children that call them cookies and flowers and bees, or a children that they hear that says that is my vagina, that is my penis, that is my anus. Absolutely, the kid that used weird names is going to be the one that is going to be an easier target, because it's going to be a lot harder to identify. Oh, how
Mm-hmm.
do you want to say hi?
Hi.
You
If we aren't comfortable, if we're not comfortable having hard conversations, then our kids aren't going to be comfortable with these conversations. So if we're not willing to have a conversation like that, how can we expect our children to be willing to talk like that? Like you said, it's very important to use proper names, and also proper, and for kids to understand the proper functions of their body. And again, the beauty of teaching moms is one thing that we kind of brushed over, is that when we become mothers, we become willing to do things that we weren't willing to do just for us. Trauma is one of them. I personally, I was like, sweep it under the rug, sweep it under the rug. I'm fine. I'm going to learn about violence and violence prevention, and I'm going to get control like that. And I did, and it was great. And then I had a kid. And then it was like, I am not equipped for this, and she deserves better, and it's time for me to step up. I wasn't willing to do it for me, but moms, we come to this place where, like, that's it. The gloves are off. I'm in, I'm willing, and we do things for our kids. And the beauty of it is, it's perfect for us to heal right alongside our children, because we get to teach them lessons, not through talking. Our kids only listen to very little of what we say, they watch us. They're watching us. And like, we have books that we recommend. So when we're preparing a child, we prepare them through games, through daily conversations that are lighthearted, solution oriented, fun books. Not like safety books, because the ones on the market, the people who made them, they mean very well, and it's not 100%, but I would say like 85% of books on the market that are made for empowering your kids and keeping your kids safe, they're missing information, and it's unfortunate. And what happens is we can create mental blocks, and what these mental blocks do is they prevent us from identifying danger, and they prevent us from doing something about it. And again, these are the books, these are the resources that are created to empower us, which is why, how did I end up doing what I do? Because I feel obligated, because I know things that most people don't know. How do I know them? Like I said, lots of certifications, like all this great stuff. But the most important is that I'm a mom, and I have life experience. I know what it's like to be the victim. I know what it's like to be repeatedly victimized because I was an ideal victim. And I know how to raise kids with the skills so that so they're not easily victimized. So somebody who's looking for their target goes, oh, that one's too hard. That's too much work. And in our society, we're in a victim society. There are willing victims everywhere. And it's not that hard to be more difficult than the people around us. And it's unfortunate, but I've learned I can't save the world. I cannot. I tried. I ended up it went very poorly. I can't save the world. I can't. However, I can empower a mom who is confident and absolutely knows she's connected with her child. Her child is supported. Her kids can talk to her about anything. Like, that's what I get to do. One family at a time. I get to change the world one family at a time. And then, like, we teach our kids, and our kids can't help but teach their kids. They can't help it.
It is a ripple effect, and I agree with you. It's so sad and so true that we are in a place where
Yes.
it's matter of not being like anything but just a little harder to be profiled, just a little bit harder to be target in order for you to be safe. Actually, when you were talking about the books, I was remembering that was and then I'm not gonna read that book anymore. We got a book about my body, my say, or something like that. And the first time that we read it, there was a couple of pages that didn't sit well with me because they were implying that dad and grandma are safe.
Yes,
They were like,
exactly.
yeah, grandma is safe, dad is safe. And I was like,
You can't do
you
that.
don't know that. You don't know
Yep.
if my kid dad is safe. And if we keep putting in the book and reading that is safe, whatever that do is not going to bring a red flag because we are all always talking that is safe.
You're absolutely right.
And then I was like,
You're as-
so I skip, but now I'm more aware. Thank you for that. I would love for you to give us some recommendations of what books will be more realistic into that, because one of the things that I would love to talk with you on is, and I don't know if this is true or not, but if doesn't feel right, 99% of the time is not right.
that's that mother's intuition. Actually, anybody has it. Our kids have it too. And it's like, do we trust our kids? Do we listen to our kids? It's quite inconvenient. Safety is not cool. I know. It's my jam. You know what I mean? Nobody's like, wow, Carrie, thank you. I'd love to reschedule this because it's not sitting well with you. Sure. People aren't excited. They're not excited. It's inconvenient. It's inconvenient to say, hey, something's not right about this store. I'm going to go shop at another one. If you're with other people, they're like, or with your kids, you're like, I have to get back in the car again. Another errand. It's nobody says, yeah, let's make safe choices. It's always one of those things where it's like, no, I've made a decision. My safety is not negotiable. Something doesn't feel right, and I'm going to cancel this trip. I don't care if my family's mad at me. Because guess what? If you read, if you go looking it up, reading about intuition, you'll find that that's when things go wrong. There's something inside of every person, including our children, that tells them when something isn't right. And when we say, yeah, but it's fine, because we're contributing to them not listening to their own internal safety system.
And there I want to talk a little bit about something, and then probably they need to work with somebody like you. But if there is a mom that had trauma around that,
Mm-hmm.
that could offset that
Yep.
instinct both ways, to be hyper sensitive to everything or to be numb to it. So how does moms can be aware of that, look for help with somebody like you to reset that, so their gut, their intuition, their danger things are actually tuned to respond and keep their children safe. Um,
You can know if you're that mom by how you feel when you just go to the grocery store on Tuesday. You just go to a grocery store, and if you are concerned about every stranger If every single time you go shopping you feel uncomfortable and you feel unsafe, then it's off. Then that's a symptom. That's a symptom of a problem, and it means that we need to reset. And how do we reset? And I love what I do because people come to me because they want to talk about everything horrible and scary and bad about the world. And yes, there's a fact. It's a fact. There are really dark, nasty, horrible things out there. But it's really important to put it in perspective. How many days of your life have you woken up and went to bed and you were completely safe? How many days of your life were you safe? And how does that fit in perspective to how many days of your life you were not safe? There's a lot of days that we wake up and go to bed without harm, and we just minimize those. It's important to know we do have safe days. You can go shopping without being followed. You can go to a concert without feeling like somebody's watching you. Like you can do things without being unsafe. You can, and we do. So that perspective is really important. So not only do we teach you like how to look for something that's unsafe, but we also want to look at what feels good, what is safe. Whatever we focus on grows. So you can start off with like a little exercise of like, why don't you write down one relationship that you would trust? You trust them with their kids. You trust them with your safety. You trust them with your PIN. You trust them with the key to your house. Pick one person that you trust with everything. And if you have 20 people, you might want to reconsider. You might want to think about like, that's pretty trusting. You know what I mean? That's a lot of trust. There should be very few people that we trust to that extent. But it's important to know that there are people out there that are trustworthy. There are trustworthy people. And here's a tangent on strangers, but if we teach our kids that strangers are dangerous, they're going to be afraid of every stranger. Your kids don't know me. I promise if your child needs help, I will help. And I'm a stranger. There's a lot of people who want to be helpful. There's a lot of people who are safe. Are we teaching our children to differentiate behavior, or are we just throwing every stranger in a box? This is dangerous. Is it?
And I think that something beautiful there. Two things on that I've been thinking on my own journey, and then the first one is body autonomy and
Mm-hmm.
speaking out, and it's like my child doesn't owe me, even a kiss or a hug, not to grandma, not to people that they don't know. Even when we are talking on the phone, I always ask, "Do you want to?" No, go ahead and do it. Sometimes I still do it, and then I cut myself like,
Yeah.
no, no, you don't have to. Do you want to? And there are some times
Mm-hmm.
that they're like, no, okay, or he's talking and he's like, I don't want to talk anymore. Bye bye. I never like, no, but you have to, or just gonna talk a little bit more, because I think that is where it start that sensor start getting upset. Is I cannot trust what I want. I cannot trust how I feel. And then if it's okay on this situation, then maybe okay in this situation. So I think that, and I want to love to hear your opinion that into that. That then the other one, that when you were talking about a stranger, is not all the strangers are danger, but also talking about realizing the definition of a stranger for you and your children. Like there was a couple of weeks ago, there is a girl that I work out a lot with, so I'm not a stranger for her. I know she
Mm-hmm.
had a baby girl that goes to Zumbini with my baby on Wednesday, but I don't go Wednesday. My nanny goes Wednesdays. And I see the girl, and the girl was really, I was a stranger. So the girl
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to say hi. The girl was like, get away from me. And then the mom was a little embarrassed, like, hey, she's my friend. I was like, no, no, no. Yes, I am your friend, but I'm a
Yeah.
stranger for her, and it is okay. And then I told her,
Yeah.
look at her and say, like, that's fine. We don't have to talk with the strangers if we don't like you. Don't like it. Thank you. And move on. So it was interesting that, because it's both ways. It's not villainizing them, but also have the thought that my children and I are different people, and who may
Yeah.
be a stranger for them, maybe somebody that is close to me, and I have to respect that and not try to push who I feel confident and trustworthy with to my children.
Yeah. And just like you said previously, like a trusted relationship is different. I may trust this person, may be a safe person for me, but that doesn't mean they're a safe person for my kid. So, somebody, let's just say, we know somebody and I don't feel threatened by them. I don't feel unsafe, but my child intuitively knows this person is not safe for me. And I'm like, oh, that's just so and so. He's really nice to me. He's not a threat to me. I'm not unsafe. So my stuff, you know what I mean? Like that's why do we trust our kids? Do we listen to our kids? Because their input it matters. And again, it does start it's like if you have raised your kid to give grandma a hug every time, there is like a when we restrict freedom and then we give it, there's a little like hiatus that goes on in there. So just for anybody who's like gonna try something new and they're really excited and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna help my kids be more safe and they don't have to hug grandma anymore. I'm gonna ask them for permission. Because of the fact that there was control and you let go of it, they're probably not gonna hug grandma for a while, and it's a natural response from going from one end to the other, and that's how we have to get in the middle. But I like to warn people because we're excited and you're like, I'm making safe choices, and then it's really ugly and it's really labor intensive, and it's like, I don't have time for this, and yes, I understand, but that's when we go back to like, what are your priorities? Because for me and my family, safety is not negotiable. That's our number one, period. And it's work. It takes effort doing and undoing, and it's evolving and it's learning, and life gets busy, and sometimes you have to undo stuff that we've done.
And I love that because I think that that is the magic part of us as moms, and is that you said before, we are willing to do uncomfortable things. And mom, I know it's hard. If you're a people pleaser, if you grow up
Yeah.
without holding any boundaries, if you grow up not feeling empowered about speaking up about what you want, I know it's scary. I know it's challenging. I know that your mom is going to start saying, but what are the matters, and it's been 2 months and he's not hugging me. And mom, that is when you need to remember that adults are not your responsibility, your children are. There is a phrase that literally changed my life on boundaries from what is her name, her book is on Tam. Anyway, I'm sorry, I don't remember the writer, but she was saying to a mom. So the story was, her kid was trans. Her parents were coming to town, and they were very right land, rigid, not approving. And she was asking for help, like, how I mediate these? They are coming. And then Glenn Doyle. And then Glenn was like, look, you call your parents and tell them, this is my house. This
Yeah.
is my children. This is what we are doing. These are the pronouns. And if you don't feel comfortable for that, I respect you as an adult and tell you that you are not welcome in my house. And then the conversation went, the phrase that changed my life was, if you have to choose between being a good daughter or being a good mom, always choose to be a good mom.
Hmm.
Because that is where we get conflicted. If you have to choose between being a good wife or be a good mom, and we are talking about in terms of
Safety.
safety. You have to choose between being a good wife and being a good mom. Pick being a good mom. If you have to choose between being a good neighbor and being a good mom, always pick being a good mom. The adults are not your responsibility. They can deal with their emotions.
Yeah.
And if they cannot deal with their emotions, too bad for them. They are not your
Yep.
children. They are not the one that were designed to depend on you to keep them safe.
Yeah. And all of the things that you're talking about, that's all the stuff that I help with. I want moms to feel really good about making safe choices. I want them to feel really good. And that means saying no. That means setting and upholding boundaries. That means making unpopular choices and decisions.
We are going into, I don't know what I want to go first. I'm gonna go here first so we can finish this, and if not, we will come back from the other part. But there is a big fear of, I wish I knew this early. It is maybe too late because my kid is 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, and I've been forcing them to kiss. I've not been paying attention. Is going to be too late. It's hard.
No,
What is the
no,
message and how these
no.
moms, of course, talking about my favorite phrase is the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next time is right now. The best time for you to start learning from people like Carrie and preparing is when you are pregnant, so you can do that since they are newborn. If you didn't for any reason, the best next time is right now. Start right now. How they can start, how they can start opening to the possibility that it's never too late to do some of this work.
Do you remember how we started this? We started talking about mistakes. This is a perfect opportunity to model behavior for my kids and say, hey, I did my best and I thought I was doing right. I was trying to do right by grandma. However, I just learned something and I realized I made a mistake. I was wrong. I made a mistake and I took away your right to make decisions about yourself and your space and your decisions, and I was wrong. That's again, so like it's perfect because it's the opportunity to start right now. And the mistakes is a really big one. There are so many things that go on with our children that if they were able to say, hey, this happened, mom, and they didn't have fear of getting in trouble, there would be so many children that didn't commit suicide.
This is going to sound super like weird, I guess, but I was actually, first I was really triggered, but then I sit with the with why I was triggered, and then I thought that was very cool. There was a scene from a series where the teenager, like 17, 18, had a very open conversation with her mom about her sexuality. And then the scene is a big storm, and then everything is locked down, and then the teenager called mom and say, my boyfriend doesn't have condoms. And then she's like, well, go and get them. And then she like, he is afraid that the drugstores nearby are going to tell his mom, so he doesn't want to. And then the scene is the mom of the girl is going in the middle of a storm asking somebody to open their drugstore to buy condoms. So it triggered me first because I was like, that's weird. But then I was like, what a wonderful gift to know that my child trusts me enough and knows that I'm so safe that is able to, if needed, go there and say, hey, instead of trying the roulette ruse into the thing, I can call my mom and say, hey, this is happening. I need help. Support me. So I love that. I love what you said about trusting and then admitting that I make a mistake and it's never too late. Now let's going to talk a little bit about, this is going to be a controversial topic and we may have to schedule for another session to go deeper. But what about physical bullying? Because there is so many. I know with karate, and I know that with martial arts, they are always into. We never use this as a weapon. We never use this to tool. We use this to defend ourselves. And the concept there is, at what point in that bully victim scenario is, I don't it doesn't feel good with me that new, and it's okay if it feels good with you and we will discuss it, but it doesn't feel with me that thing of a bully's hitting me, a bully's punching me, somebody is violently physically hurt me, and it's not okay for me to defend myself, and it's not okay for me to go back and defend, but I need to just talk, I need to ask for help, and this thing keep going. So I would love for you as an expert to give us a little bit of light on that scenario when it's physical abuse, more from the like bully perspective.
This is my specialty because what there is so much that happens before somebody physically hurts me. There's a whole, it goes on and on. Your screen's not big enough. It goes on and on. There's all this stuff that happens before that. So number one, If you made it all the way to here, the long road to get there, because it doesn't come out of nowhere, if you made it there, it's never okay to let somebody hurt me. It's never okay to let somebody harm me. That's my responsibility. I am responsible to not let somebody harm me. So my the reason why I do hands-on self-defense training is because it is possible to stay safe without harming the other person. And that's what women and children need to know, because I might lose my job over it, or I might, we talk like we started out in the beginning. There's consequences for physically defending yourself. You shouldn't have to choose between your best friend and being safe. You shouldn't have to choose between your church and being safe. You shouldn't have to choose between going to school and being safe. You should be able to have it all. I should never have to choose between something in my life and my safety. You can be safe and defend yourself without harming another person. And that's what my hands-on training is. The progression is very important. If anybody if anybody is in a bullying situation and they're struggling with bullying, on our website there's a blog and it tells you what you can do along the way, how you can take a stand and do something, and it's all the things other than physically defending yourself. Don't get me wrong, always physically defend yourself. Do not ever let anyone harm you for any reason. There's consequences, but it's not okay to let somebody hurt me. So these are all the things that you can do, because we aren't aware of all the choices we have. We aren't even aware. We don't know that we have tons of choices. So again, there's a blog article that specifically touches bullying, and if your child is a victim of bullying, and what you can do to motivate the school to do more than they're doing, because they're probably not doing enough, what you can do to support your child, how to improve the situation. We talked about the ripple effect of empowering the mom, who empowers the kid, who empowers their kids and friends, and so forth. But more than that, when we live this prepared lifestyle, everywhere we go, every location we go to becomes more safe, because we have the skills to bring safety everywhere we go. It's not hard. It's very simple. We just don't know. We just know that we're supposed to be terrified about bullying, and terrified about trafficking, and terrified about grooming. We just know we're supposed to be scared of all the scary things in the world, but nobody tells us the power that we have over it. We have tremendous power. You are equipped and you are qualified. I don't know if I'd love if you have specific questions. I'd love to answer a specific question,
No, no,
but
two things there on that one. The first, that is fascinating for me, and because I will tell you, you changed my perspective. Up to now, I don't know if it's my Colombian, but I told always my husband, and my husband is the other side. So my husband was like, "That is never the answer." I'm like, "Hey, he is going to say no, back up, whatever. Don't hit me, whatever. Don't listen. Ask for help of an adult. If those two don't work, he's going to have all my blessing to punch the kid back, and don't let the kid hurt him." And that's what I was thinking until now. But now that I'm hearing you, what I'm seeing now as a different solution is finding in the area where I am class something similar to what you do on hands, or if you have videos, so then he can have the tools to be feel empowered of defend himself, make sure that he doesn't allow somebody to hurt him without getting involved in the violence, hurting back. So that is fascinating. Now, with little babies and toddlers, how we can start modeling that on situations like one baby push your baby, or take the toy that your baby is playing with, or is a little more rough. Because, for example, in my case, my toddler, my toddler is very observant, and my toddler is very mellow. So my toddler is always watching, is not very full energy. So normally my toddler is the one that gets the toys picked out of them. And there is so many theories. There are people that says, "Oh, let the struggle. Let him figure out by himself." What is your position as an expert?
So we're talking about very sensitive information. And I support mothers to do what they feel is best. We've already talked about consent. This is where communication with the other mom is imperative because you get to decide. Some moms are good with the struggle and some moms are not. So that is why it's appropriate to say, hey, my son just took a toy from your child. Do you want me to intervene? Or are you okay with them figuring it out? Because that, I don't believe in the black and white. I don't believe that this is the answer. This is how it should look. It always needs to go this way. That's not how it works. Every relationship is as different as the two people in it. So even if you have, I'm the same in all of my relationships, but because it's a relationship with a different person, it's now a different thing. It's different. So what works for two moms is not might not work for another two moms. That's where the communication comes in. The observing, hey, I just saw this happen. Would you like me to intervene? And that gives them the opportunity. It doesn't mean people are capable to say, actually, I'd prefer if you'd step in. Like, that's not okay, but the deal is we extend that to the other person because whether, like in my case, I've been victimized a lot. And how'd that work out? Well, I get to serve and help other people not get victimized. I don't call that a loss. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but it's not a loss. My experiences have shaped who I am, and they have allowed me to serve people the way that I serve people. Why would it be any different for those toddlers? Do you know what I mean? Like everybody's collecting life experience, and none of it. I believe that we put good and bad on there, but um, different people and different cultures and different areas and different places, and it's all different. There's no cookie cutter answer. That's why it's very important to listen to your intuition, to be to honor your values, and to communicate with the other person and invite them into your decision making and your consideration.
I love that. Thank you so much. This was a fascinating episode. Thank you for everything that you are doing for the moms and the children of the world to stay safe. Now that we are closing in the last couple of minutes, why you don't share one last message for all the moms that are listening to you right now? What is that one message and how they can connect with you if they are going through a situation that is unsafe, if they were victims of unsafe situations before, how they can reach out to you, ask for help, learn from you, and then we will close the show.
All right. So, number one and most important, you are uniquely qualified. You are qualified to be the mother of your child, and you are qualified. Even if you've made mistakes in the past, we get to do better. We get to do better, and you can do better. We get more tools, we learn more information, and we do better, and that's always enough. Our best has to be enough, and it is enough. So, just get what you need and do better, whether that's through me or someone else. Or we've talked about a lot of stuff, a lot of things that you don't need help with. You can just start doing and practicing and trying. But if you need or want support, we've talked about bullying, we've talked about grooming. You can go to beatingdisaster.com. There's tons of free information on there. If you sign up for emails, you get tons of free information, stuff that you didn't even know you wanted to know. And then I have a fear to focus session. So if you are going through something and you would like my undivided attention, I would be glad to listen and to offer to listen to where you are and hear where you want to be and give you a couple actionable steps to get where you want to, where you're going. I would be glad to do that. And you can do that through the website or even better on Facebook. The business page is Beating Disaster. I love how you opened with disaster because that's the deal. We're avoiding disaster or beating the tar out of it, whichever you want to do. I'm happy to support you, but it's all about thwarting disaster. We don't need it, right? So you can go to Beating Disaster on Facebook, facebook.com/Beating Disaster, and you can send a direct message there, and I'd be stoked. I'd be glad to set up a fear to focus session.
Thank you so much. Fear to focus. Okay, moms, you got it. Beating disaster in Facebook. Thank you so much, Carrie. That this was beautiful. Also, make sure that you remember to follow me in Instagram, Joy Unicorn Coach, or in Facebook too, Joy Unicorn Coach. And this show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out www.spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Bye.